10 minutes after I told my daughter I was not her retirement plan, she screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. I stood there staring at the wall like it had just cracked. But the real crack happened before that. It happened at 8:12 that morning. My name is Ensley Myers. I have lived in the same house in Portland for almost 3 decades. I work part-time now. Hospital admin most of my life. Steady, boring, safe. My phone lit up while I was standing in my kitchen. The smell of burnt coffee kind of hanging in the air. Rowan texted, "I'm quitting my job. You'll take care of us while I figure things out." That was it. No mom. No, can we talk? Just a plan. Her plan. Honestly, I just stared at it. 14 years of me wiring money, covering rent, fixing credit cards, paying for braces. I swear, my first instinct was to open my banking app and calculate how bad it would be this time. Instead, I typed something I had never typed in my life. "I'm not your retirement plan." I sat there for a second, deleted it, typed it again, hit send before I could chicken out. 10 minutes later, she called. "You have money just sitting there. If we lose the house, that's on you. You don't even need it." I didn't yell back, didn't explain, didn't say I loved her. I just listened. And for the first time, I didn't apologize. After I hung up, my hands were shaking a little. Not from fear, from habit breaking. I opened my laptop. If she thought I was her backup plan, maybe I needed to see exactly how much that plan had already cost me. After I hung up, I opened my banking history. I do not know what I expected. Maybe something small, a few bad years, a rough patch. It was not that. I scrolled back. $1,200 a month for rent. 2 full years. $8,500 to wipe out her credit card when interest ate it alive. $14,000 for community college tuition she swore would change everything. $6,000 for the down payment on her Subaru. Phone plan still under my name. Utilities when Caleb's contracts ran dry. I started writing it down in a notebook. The ballpoint pen pressing so hard into the paper, it left grooves on the next 3 pages. Each number was a ghost of a vacation I didn't take, a repair I'd delayed, a night of sleep I'd lost. It wasn't a ledger. It was an autopsy of my own kindness. $276,000, roughly, over 14 years. I texted Rowan. "Did you ever think to add it up?" She replied fast. "Add what up?" "The money." A pause. Then, "You're keeping score now." Caleb jumped in on the group chat. "It was help. Ensley. That's what family does." I typed. Deleted. Typed again. "Help is once. This has been ongoing." Rowan answered. "We always told you it was temporary." Temporary. That word again. She used it when she left her first job, when she switched majors, when she decided to freelance, when Caleb quit to find his brand. I remember every time I wired money, I told myself I was bridging a gap, just holding things steady. But looking at that number, it hit me kind of hard. I did not just help her. I made sure she never felt the fall. The email came in while I was still staring at my notebook. Hard credit inquiry notification. I almost ignored it. Spam. I thought, but the bank name was real, local, downtown. I clicked. Rowan had applied for a small business loan. $150,000. Boutique branding studio, Pearl District, and there it was in black and white. Intended co-signer Ensley Myers. My stomach kind of dropped. Slow and heavy. Below that, a link. The email wasn't just a link. It was a notification that a dynamic KBA knowledge-based authentication session had been initiated using my credit profile. I didn't wait for the session to expire. I called the lender's compliance department immediately. "I am the person listed as a potential co-signer for Rowan Myers," I told the officer. "I am flagging this application as unauthorized. Do not proceed with the underwriting process using my assets. A woman answered. Brisk. Professional, ma'am. Your daughter listed you as a potential co-signer. We sent you the electronic consent form. I didn't agree to that. I told her. You have not yet, but if you sign, you become legally responsible for repayment. How responsible fully? If she defaults, we can pursue your assets, including real property. My house, yes, ma'am. I thanked her and hung up. Then I called an estate attorney I'd used once for updating my will. His name is Arthur. Dry voice. No nonsense. If you electronically consent, he explained, you are on the hook for $150,000 plus interest. Can she use my name without permission? She can list you. She can't bind you without your signature. The form expires in 24 hours. I opened the attachment again. The button was right there. Sign and submit. It would take 10 seconds. I texted Rowan. Did you apply for a loan? 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Then, yes. It's a huge opportunity. You listed me. I assumed you'd help. Assumed. I stared at the link glowing on my screen, thinking about how automatic that word sounded. Arthur cleared his throat on the phone. Has she ever had access to your documents? The question landed heavier than the loan. I leaned back in my chair. 3 years ago, I had pneumonia. I was out for almost 2 weeks. Rowan took over the mail, paid a few bills, let me help for once. She'd told me. She handled some paperwork. I admitted. What kind insurance forms? Utilities. I think she scanned my driver's license. Maybe my social security card. Arthur paused. That's not fraud, he said carefully. But it's access. Access. I didn't like how that sounded. After we hung up, I pulled out the metal file box from my closet. The faint smell of dust and old paper hit me. My social security card wasn't where I usually kept it. I found it eventually, tucked inside a different folder. Probably nothing. Probably me being paranoid. Still, I logged into my credit bureau account and froze everything. All 3 agencies. It took less than 10 minutes. A strange kind of power in clicking those buttons. Then I drafted a formal email to the lender. I do not consent to serve as co-signer on any loan application submitted by Rowan Myers. Short, clear, no emotion. Rowan texted minutes later. Did you seriously contact the bank? Yes. You embarrassed me. I protected myself. There was a long pause. You think I'd screw you over? I stared at that message for a while. I didn't answer right away. I was still deciding whether this was about trust or about permission. Rowan showed up that Friday with the kids and 2 overnight bags. She didn't ask if they could come in. She just stepped past me like this was an extension of her argument. If we lose the house, she started. Setting the bags down, it's because you wouldn't help. I closed the door behind them. The hallway still smelled faintly like lemon cleaner. I'd mopped that morning. Didn't know I was preparing for a standoff. You're not losing the house this weekend, I told her. They can stay 2 nights. Her face shifted. So we're guests now? Yes, I replied. Guests. I pulled out a simple paper I'd typed up earlier. Temporary stay. No tenancy. No financial obligation implied. Rowan stared at it. You want me to sign something to stay at my mother's house? I want clarity. She signed. Hard enough the pen scratched. Later that evening, I was helping my grandson with a puzzle. He looked up at me. Serious as anything. Mom says you have lots of money anyway, so we're okay. I felt it then. Not anger, something colder. Grandma works hard for what she has. I told him. Rowan heard me from the kitchen. They deserve stability. She snapped. You're punishing them to prove a point. I stood up slowly. I'm not punishing anyone, I said. I'm refusing to risk my home. For what? Pride for survival? She shook her head like I'd betrayed her. The kids laughed in the other room, unaware. I watched them for a second. Small, safe, still believing adults mean what they promise. I realized this wasn't about saving Rowan anymore. It was about what the children were learning while I kept rescuing her. The final system-generated email arrived my 6 that evening. Even though I'd flagged the file, the automated portal was still counting down, a digital ghost of the choice I hadn't made yet. Final notice. Cosigner verification will be voided at midnight. I stared at it while Rowan and the kids were upstairs watching a movie. The house felt too quiet between their laughter. The refrigerator hummed. That was it. I opened the link again. $150,000. Boutique studio lease, equipment, renovation budget, my name under intended cosigner. All it needed was a click. Rowan came downstairs halfway through. She didn't sit. She stood across the table like we were negotiating territory. Did you think about it? Yes, and I'm still thinking. She exhaled, sharp. This could change everything for us. It could also ruin everything for me. Nothing would happen. That's what you said about the credit cards. Her jaw tightened. That was different. It was $8,500 different. She looked at the laptop. You won't even need that money that long. There it was again. Casual. Like my lifespan was part of her business plan. After she went back upstairs, I stayed at the table. I imagined signing, the relief in her voice. The kids stable. Caleb grateful for 5 minutes. Then I imagined a default notice. Interest piling up, a lien on this house. 63 years old and starting over. I almost signed. I swear I did. My finger hovered over the trackpad. I thought about the first time I wired her money. She cried. Promised it was the last time. It never was. At 11:58. I closed the laptop, upstairs. The kids were still laughing. At 12:01, another email came through. Loan status updated, cosigner declined. I sat there a long time. Not proud, not calm, just aware that something I'd done for 14 years had finally stopped. Rowan texted that morning, "We're coming over. We need to talk like adults." Caleb came with her. Smelling faintly of expensive cologne he definitely hadn't paid for himself. He didn't look at me. He looked at the house, his eyes wandering toward the crown molding like he was already estimating the resale value. The kids stayed in the living room with the television low. I could hear the faint laugh track bleeding through the wall. Rowan didn't sit at first. She stood across from me at the dining table. "It's just a signature," she began. Calm voice. Controlled. "You made this dramatic." Caleb leaned back in his chair. "You're overreacting. It's $150,000. It's not like we're asking for $200,000. I slid a folder across the table. "What's that?" Rowan asked. 14 years. She flipped it open. Printed bank statements. Transfers highlighted, $1,200 a month. For rent, for 2 years. $8,500 for your credit card. $14,000 for tuition. $6,000 for your car. Utilities. Phone plan. Gaps in between. Caleb frowned. "Why are you keeping receipts?" "I'm not keeping receipts. I'm keeping records." Rowan's face flushed. "So now I'm some kind of scam." "I didn't say that." "You're implying it." "I'm stating numbers." She pushed the papers back toward me. That was help. It was $276,000. Caleb let out a short laugh. "Spread over 14 years, that's not crazy. It is when it never stops." Rowan's voice cracked. "You're choosing money over your grandchildren." "I'm choosing not to risk losing my house." "Nothing would happen," Caleb insisted. "We'd never default. Then you should qualify without me. That landed hard. Rowan stood up. You don't believe in me. I believe you haven't had to face consequences. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. You always told me family supports each other. She shot back. I do support you. I just don't bankroll you. Caleb crossed his arms. This studio could change our lives. So could bankruptcy. Rowan's control snapped. You'll die with that money anyway. The words didn't just hit the table. They sucked the oxygen right out of the room. I looked at my daughter, the baby I'd cradled, the toddler whose feverish forehead I'd kissed, and realized she was already measuring me for a coffin, just so she could use the wood to build her studio. My chest didn't just thud, it went hollow. The kids laughed again in the other room, that fake sitcom laughter, bright and wrong. I stood up slowly. If you believe that, I told her, then you've misunderstood everything I ever worked for. She shook her head. You're punishing us. I'm protecting myself, Caleb muttered. This is unbelievable. No, I said. This is overdue. Rowan's eyes were glassy now, angry, humiliated. So that's it. That's it. The meeting didn't end with a hug. It ended with Rowan grabbing her purse and Caleb whispering something under his breath about control. 3 days later, the bank sent final confirmation. Loan denied. Rowan didn't call to tell me. She didn't have to. The silence between us felt different after that. Not explosive, just exposed. I met Arthur in his office the following week. He didn't waste time. You're sure, he asked, sliding the draft across his desk? I'm sure. We started the process. Revocable living trust. My house transferred into it, not overnight. Paperwork, recording with the county. It would take weeks to finalize. But the structure began that day. I also appointed a professional fiduciary as a co-trustee. If I ever became incapacitated, Rowan wouldn't be the one holding the keys to the kingdom. The bank would handle the money, and they don't respond to guilt trips or temper tantrums. That's the point. And no more co-signing under any circumstances. He nodded and made the note. After that, I went home and untangled everything else. I changed every password, enabled two-factor authentication on my banking and utility portals, and officially de-linked her name from the primary billing address. I wasn't just closing accounts, I was reclaiming my digital identity. She called within hours. You locked me out of the account. Yes. Wow. I'm reorganizing. You don't trust me. I'm protecting myself. There was a long exhale on her end. So this is permanent. This is structured. You're acting like I'm dangerous. I'm acting like I'm responsible. She didn't yell this time. That almost felt worse. You really went to a lawyer. She muttered, yes, for your own daughter, for my own stability. She hung up without another word. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady, like a door had finally clicked shut after being half open for years. The house was quiet that night. No arguments, no crying, just the low hum of the furnace and the sound of my own breathing, slower than it had been in days. The loan fell through. I heard it from Arthur before I heard it from Rowan. Application closed. He told me over the phone. Without a co-signer, they declined it. I figured. I replied. 3 days later, Rowan called. They denied it. I know. Silence on the line. Not screaming this time, just flat. I had to cancel the studio lease. She went on. We already put down a deposit. I'm sorry you lost it. You don't sound sorry. I don't sound panicked. That stung her. I could hear it. Caleb's voice drifted in the background. Tell her about the car. Rowan came back sharper. We sold the SUV. For what? Something cheaper. We had to free up cash. Okay, you're really fine with this. I'm not celebrating it. We moved. She added, smaller apartment, southeast, 2 bedrooms. I hope it's safe. It's fine. She snapped. The kids share a room now. 3 months passed like that. No weekend visits. No birthday money requests. Just distance. The kids weren't homeless. They weren't starving. They were still in school. Rowan took a corporate marketing job, 9 to 5, benefits. One evening she called again. You didn't even hesitate. She said quietly, I hesitated for 14 years. You could have made this easier. I could have made it longer. She didn't argue. For the first time, I heard something else in her voice. Not gratitude, not apology, just adjustment. Hardship didn't break her. It forced her to move. 6 months later, the trust paperwork came back finalized. Arthur called to confirm. It's recorded. The house is officially inside the trust. Distributions are structured. She can't touch the principal. Good, I told him. Do you want to inform Rowan? She'll figure it out when she needs to. My pension was steady. Bills paid. No shared accounts. No open credit risk. Quiet. Rowan called that evening. I signed the lease myself. She began. For the new place, yes. That's good. A pause. You don't have anything else to say. You handled it. She exhaled. Caleb's working full-time now. We're stable. I'm glad. Another pause. Heavier. I thought you'd cave, she admitted. I know. You always did before. I always shouldn't have. She didn't argue. That was new? I was angry. She added. I felt like you chose money. I chose sustainability. That still hurts. I didn't do it to hurt you. I know that now. The words weren't warm. They weren't cold either. Just honest. Before hanging up, she said quietly, the kids miss you. They can visit. Visits don't require loans. A small, almost embarrassed laugh came through the line. Then goodbye. Later that night, I sat at my kitchen table. Same spot where I almost signed away $150,000. The wood still had that faint lemon polish smell. Funny how close I came to undoing decades in 10 seconds. Here's what I've learned. And I'm not pretending I learned it gracefully. Helping isn't the same as rescuing. Rescuing feels noble. It feels maternal. But sometimes it's just control dressed up as love. I kept stepping in because it made me feel needed. That's on me too. Boundaries don't mean you don't love someone. They mean you refuse to destroy yourself proving it. If this sounds familiar to you, don't just watch quietly. Drop a comment. Tell me where you finally drew your line, and if you're still standing on one. Maybe this is your sign to stop pretending it's selfish. I didn't abandon my daughter. I stopped being her financial insurance. I am her mother, not her safety net. Are you being a good parent by paying for their mistakes? Or are you just buying their temporary love with your permanent future? Tell me your story below. I'm reading.